Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another session with me as we gear up for the new year. 3 more sessions left before we step into the new year. So let's draw again. Let's tangle into the new year. So I'm going to be starting with a loop string, which is basically the string that we use to create a tangle called Purk. Yes, but let us give a slight twist to our Purk today. Let's draw it a little differently. So I'm first creating these dividing lines as we generally do for pork, but they are a little thicker. Yes, and then I'm going to add an additional aura to these dividing lines. Why? Because I intend to add a tangle inside these dividing lines also, and that's why I'm adding an aura. Using my Micron 01 and started with a tangle called Purk using the loop string. Right now inside this I'm going to do a tangle called echoism. So instead of normal simple dividing lines, let's draw a nice decked up Purk today. So this tangle is nothing but a series of cursive S. You can connect them together or you can space them out, whichever way you like it. Go slow. Yes, it's a continuous one stroke tangle. You don't really have to lift your hands while drawing the tangle echoism. It's a beautiful tangle to draw. Looks like a chain pattern. And as I mentioned, the consecutive S's can be touching each other or they can be at a distance. That is entirely your take. Yes, let's do that for the other two bands also. So the loop that we drew with pencil is for reference, so that your shape is somewhat similar to that loop, the outer shape of the tangled pork. Although shape is never a constraint, you can always draw pork as a border tangle or inside any kind of a shape, but generally the original tangle has this loop kind of a shape. Right, so we are done that. Now let us add the orbs. Now the orbs can be simple orbs or you can place some caviars. So let's start with some simple orbs today first. Start from the center preferably, like this, and then you have to build on the tangle and add more orbs. So if you want to add some more zen, try adding something else like caviar instead of simple orbs. Yes, so I'm giving ideas, explore, or you can draw along in exactly the same way as I am drawing. That's fine. Trying to fill in the small little intersectices at the same time as I draw. Generally you will see orbs drawn in Zentangle in this fashion only. Squeezed together, drawn behind, unless it is a tangle like tuple. This bulging out looks very nice when you draw Purk. Yes, the orbs kind of misbehaving and coming out of their area. Looks nice. A few here. Make sure you fill up those small tiny intersectices. So that's a beautiful Purk. Yes, now let us build on the tangle. So I'm going to kind of draw a border, something like this. Yes, so there's a tangle called Ynix, generally drawn a little differently, but here I'm going to be using it like a border. Yes, so I am drawing the tangle Ynix, small little spaces in between. Just keep inking it and go along the edges of the tile. There is only one stroke or shape involved, which is the rice shape or the seed shape. Keep rotating your tile and go along the edges of your tile. Very similar to a tangle called frondus. However, in frondus, these seed shapes are not connected to each other. They are flying in the air and not stuck with each other. Yeah. So I'm done drawing my Ynix and just going back and filling up those tiny spaces here and there, adding a touch of black. Adds to the look of the tangle also. Wherever you see some bit of spaces, intersectices, just go back, add that dash of black. And that's it. I don't think we need to do anything else. Yes, you can add one more leaf here and complete it like this. Now let us extend our tangle a little more. So I'm going to be adding some more tangles. So I'm now going to draw a version of the tangle Bronxcheer, which looks somewhat like this flower. So you just have to draw flowers, layers of this petal shape. You can round the shape or you can keep it more of rectangular. It's entirely up to you how do you want to. I'm just building on the flower. As you can see, I'm just ensuring that the joint falls somewhere in between the next layer. So as I go higher up, I'm kind of diminishing the size of the leaf of the petal or the petal shape, sort of diminishing to give that 3D kind of an effect. So this is a Bronxcheer tangleation. So now what I'm going to do is the last layer I'm just going to diminish the size to give it a more 3D kind of an effect. Simple tangle to draw. Just a simple shape which is repeating again and again. and you can, if you want, add one more layer here. I think that's sufficient. Yes, we can add one more smaller one here, so let's add one more. Start like a flower, and then you can just keep building on it like this. Again, slowly take your time, and probably one or two layers more. Yeah, so let's add one layer more. And that's it. The in between spaces you can very well push in some caviars. I'm going to make it caviars because else it will mix up with the shape that we have already drawn. So either you can just ink it and convert it to the other version of Bronxcheer, or you can make it a caviar, whichever way you like it. Right, so you have to ink it in a manner that the orbs are not perfectly inked. There are spaces in between which help you separate those orbs from each other. Something like this. Yeah. So this is also Bronxcheer. You can add one here. And I think that's sufficient. Right? So let us extend our tangle a little more. So I'm going to be drawing one more tangle here, which is called probably let us draw a drama tangle, because we are lacking some bit of drama on the tile. So let's go with Strircles. What say? This tangle is called Strircles. So I'm starting with some nice and wavy lines and dividing the rest of the space. Rotate your tile. And then I'm going to add some random orbs. You can place them anywhere you wish. No hard and fast rules there. As many as you wish to. Yes. And the next step is to start inking spaces. Alternate spaces. So first one, I'm inking the section other than the orb. The next one, I'm inking the section that is the orb, and part of the orb falling in that section. The next one, again I will ink the section itself and not the orb. So that's how you have to ink. Yes, follow the sequence. One section, you will ink the section. The second section, you will ink the orb or part of the orb, whatever is applicable. So you can now either switch to a bolder nib because this will involve some bit of inking, or if you think it is easier to work with the finer nib, please stick to the nib. Right, next one again we will ink the orb and leave the section as such. You can add more. The next one we will ink the section and leave the orb as such. The tangle is called Strircles, adds great drama to your tile, and I thought it will look nice in the space. Yes, so leave the orb falling in that section or part of the orb falling in that section, and that's how you have to continue inking. Take your time. Yes, the next one, ink the orb or part of the orb. So I'm going to continue like this. You please take your own time, no hurry. Take a walk, take a break if you feel like. Come back and then complete your inking. So I'm done with inking my Strircles, and this is how it looks like. You can very well see the kind of drama that it adds to your tile. As far as these Bronxcheers are concerned, you can add some touches of ink at these places. So I'm just adding a dash of ink at these intersections because it adds little character to my Bronxcheers, a tangliation basically. So just touch your nib at those intersections, add a little extra ink there as it adds to the look of this tangle. Yes, go to those in between spaces and just add some touches of ink there. Like this. Yeah, let's do this for the smaller one also. Tiny spaces, so you just have to touch your pen at those intersections. Not much, maybe not all, few spaces depending on the size of your flower. I think that's sufficient. Let us now get to shading. So as far as shading is concerned, the Ynix, I'm going to add shadow on one side. As I keep saying, there are a whole lot of different ways in which you can shade the same tangle. Yes, so go with what you feel like at that point of time. I feel like the high and low version will look nice. So I am going to add shadow to one side of my Ynix. Yes. So I'm just going to take it to one side, basically darken one side and let the other side be as is. Or you can highlight the other side with your chalk pencil. Coming next to our Bronxcheers, the flowers, I'm going to add shadow to one side. Like this, and then blend it and take it away to about half. Adds a nice high and low effect. Like this. As far as circles are concerned, there are a whole lot of ways. You can either add shadow under these lines, or you can again add shadow on one side. Let's stick to that method of shading only today. What say? Yeah, let's add shadow on one side. Again blend. Take it to about half of your circles. That's it. That's our circles. Coming next to our Purk. So I'm going to highlight under these bands and over these bands. Make sure some part of the orbs remains white. Don't make it totally gray. So be aware when you are blending. Right? So this white highlight is important. So don't blend too much. So the orbs kind of curl up. Yes. And that's because you have left a highlight. So that's about it. I don't think we need to shade more. Now let us add some bit of Zen. And for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to color alternate, basically adding lines, because I think it will add to the look. Like this. Yes. So leaving one and then adding auras inside alternate leaves or petals of my Ynix. Well, you can also ink it if you wish. I think it will look nice that way also. I'm adding auras inside. Not to all. Picking alternate petals. Probably both here. Something like this. Yeah. Now if you want to use your GellyRoll, you can always use and add very fine dots on your circles. It will add that zen. So if you want, just make sure you run your GellyRoll on a surface, make sure it's working, and then you can just add I'm using a very fine 05 jelly roll. You can see it adds that mystic feel. Yes. So whenever I have bold black sections, I'm always tempted to use my jelly roll to add that zen. Using a very fine jelly roll and adding that mystic feel to my tile. Take your time and do that exercise throughout your circles. So one last thing that I'm going to do before we close our tile is to highlight the other side of our Bronxcheers. So I've added some bit of white chalk there and we are done. Yes. So let's now close our tile. I'm going to put in my chop, or you can sign your tile whichever way you like it. Let's put it here only. Sign and date your tile always. Put in a comment if you want. I shall see you again with 2 more sessions.